The question I am asking myself, have we sorted out the winner take all question? Oh, is that so? So, the president from his side, like for example here, President Uhuru Kenyatta, I am here, Kimunya is the Prime Minister, because he's the leader of majority. We have Jimmy Angwenyi, who is our deputy as a deputy prime minister, and maybe Maoka Maore as one of the deputies. So what happens to the whole NASA brigade together with Musalia and all these other people? I mean, and I am not saying anything. I'm just saying I want to be persuaded. And forgive me if I am slow. Forgive me. There are so many Kenyans who are in my category. Are we together?
And he also went on to say that on that winner-take-all inclusivity, that there must be an open discussion on the millions of Kenyans who are left out of the economy, seemingly shifting the idea of inclusivity not to positions, which he said he is not persuaded by, but rather, equal opportunities.
You see, Yvonne, as the country struggles with the thought of Deputy Prime Minister Jimmy Angwenyi, a man by the way, I covered his election the first time he came through. He replaced the late Zachary Onyonga as a member of parliament for Kitutu Chache.
Actually, he should be the second longest serving member of parliament.
Yes, he is a long serving member of parliament. But back to the point that the deputy president made, I thought that was very effective in terms of just breaking it down to a practical level, demystifying the 5 positions, because they have been floating empty. So what did he do? He populated it with some names, with exactly how it would work in a post-election scenario. Because the proposal on the table is the winning party, the party that has the majority of seats in parliament, will be the party where the prime minister will come from. And of course, there will be the president and his running mate. And these positions were distributed in a very, very practical sense. And he asked the question, has it solved the winner takes it all question? And the answer, and a lot of Kenyans may find themselves agreeing with him, is it doesn't quite. Because the opposition will still remain where they are. The number 2 of the presidential race will become the leader of official opposition. So winner takes 5 positions. It's no longer 2. Remember, right now it's president and deputy president. So winner takes it all, and the winner gets to even appoint cabinet ministers from inside and outside parliament. So I think it's a conversation that Kenyans are going to really have, which is why it always puzzles me that the real issue was never discussed in this BBI. I know we'll talk about IEBC, but the elephant in the room, the one thing that should have been one of the 9 points that the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga should have heard is, can we table the ruling of the Supreme Court in 2017 about the conduct of the presidential election? How did we conduct that election? We have run away from the real problem. We are running away from the tree in the middle of the Garden of Eden, which is rigging, which is very, very discredited elections. And we've had 3 of them in a row. 2007 did not meet the threshold of a free and fair election. 2013 was an election of politeness. Polite because we had the threat of ICC over our heads. So even with the questions we heard about the counting of votes and the release of results, we were polite because ICC was on our case as a country. So everybody behaved. But can the 2013 election meet the threshold of a free and fair election, credible election? Did we really have a 50+1 in 2013? These are the questions they were not addressing. 2017, they didn't need to do any work, just read the Supreme Court ruling, watch even the tapes. Simple questions from the judges. Oh, so many people voted for president but not for other positions, because that is the traditional way we've been inflating or adding up the numbers of, we call it top up, of the numbers for the presidential vote. So there is a serious problem here because we have not discussed elections, the conduct of elections, the system. How do we, and I mean this also in just when we talk of the system, there is a transmission system, but there is also the system. What was the Deputy President doing not too long ago? Complaining about the system. What is the system? The system is powerful state officers, powerful government departments, capable of interfering with the outcome of an election.
Yeah.
Is that a reality? Yes, it is a reality. And these were the issues Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta should have discussed also and brought them as part of the BBI. You know what would solve problems in this country? Free and fair elections where we all trust the results, that we voted this way and Abdul Badida won the election. It doesn't matter where he comes from. What are we doing now? We are creating sort of tunnels where elections will be done in a certain way. And I think we'll come to the issue of IEBC at some point.
But Linus, I think it's also important to have a broad discussion that will explain to Kenyans what is this inclusivity. Because I don't think that inclusivity would mean, for example, if Party A has contested and won, that the losing party will be included in government. I don't think that is the exact meaning of inclusivity, where, let's say, number one will share government with number two. Then, in reference to that other soundbite that we played about the president talking about the tribal nature of our politics, I think the envisaged inclusivity here, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, is where not two communities are seen to dominate government or to constitute government or to form government. A situation where you have an expanded executive, so to say, such that, let's say, somebody from Rift Valley can look and say, oh, our person is there. Somebody from Western can say, oh, our person is there. From Nyanza, from Northeastern, and so on and so forth. The only challenge with that is that you cannot probably create enough positions for every community, for every tribe to feel that our person is there. Because if you're saying, if we have a presidential system, only two communities feel included, and then expand it to 5, then you're saying if the big 5 are happy, then the rest are okay. Yeah, for a country that has 43 or thereabout tribes, you're saying if the big 5 are included, then the other 38 or so don't matter. I don't think that, in my opinion, is the correct definition of inclusivity. What about inclusivity in terms of development, such that a person in Lamu, a person in Mandera, a person in Kiambu, where I come from, a person from Lugari in Kakamega will feel, regardless of how I voted, who I voted for, regardless of the outcome, I can be assured of medical services, infrastructure, education, and all other basic needs and services from government without necessarily being bogged down by who I voted for, who I didn't vote for. Probably that is the apt route to look at inclusivity, but also probably the inclusivity is being defined in the BBI report is a scenario where, for example, currently the ODM leader who got the second highest number of votes in both the 2017 August elections, whose results were nullified, and even the repeat polls if you go to the IEBC website, it is indicated that the ODM leader got some 71,000 votes, so he was number 2, even though he did not participate.
More than
Dr. Ekuru Aukot.
Yeah.
So even with those votes, the first poll and the second poll, he's still out there. Unlike probably the current scenario that is being drafted here, that the losing candidate gets to be in parliament and can be able to drive his team's agenda and lead his troops from the house, and even with a shadow cabinet of sorts. So probably that is the inclusion that is being spoken about, that this person who got the second highest number of votes does not, I hear in Tani say, haingi kwa nyasi, haingi forest. He's in parliament, leading his troops from there, and maybe can take the government of the day to account. I don't know whether that is the very correct way of looking at inclusivity, but in my opinion, that is what is being addressed in the BBI report.
Okay, and you know, it also just, there's the contradiction that, you know, some people talk about with respect to the fact that we're talking about inclusivity and, the winner takes all. But on the other hand, the Constitution does say that the president should win by 50% plus one. That is like a clear majority, and also must have won the majority in
popular mandate,
and half of the counties.
25% in at least 24 counties.
24 counties. And in that sense, the idea was to ensure that the president receives the mandate of the people, that there is no doubt about whether this was the man that we decided or woman that we decided we wanted to lead us or not. And then here you have saying, the winner takes all and this is detrimental. But then there was also that was put in so that you don't have, a president who's leading with a minority and who does not enjoy the legitimacy of the same. So some would say there's a contradiction between now saying we don't want a winner take all, but we still have all of these to make sure that, the president who rules has the majoritarian issue. But you had talked about the winner take all, before in terms of, whether creating these at least three extra positions, in cabinet and in the executive would solve that issue.
I think what it sort of encourages is the creation of strengthening these pre-election coalitions. Watu watashikana vyama kadhaa, because even Jubilee right now is vyama kadhaa ndogo ndogo vilishikana, and that is why I think it encourages that yes, we are going to have the pre-election coalitions, and then the winning alliance will scoop all the positions. That after they win, there is no way that this alliance will win and then fill some of those positions with people from the party that lost. That is not going to happen. So how is that inclusivity? If you look at it that way, they'll be filled by presidential appointees, presidential nominees from the party or the coalition of parties that won. That's one. And two, when you look at what the BBI report recommends in terms of even the appointment of the Prime Minister, the President picks Prime Minister, who will be, of course, the leader of government business in the House. If the House rejects him, the President can appoint another person to take that position. Hata huyo akikataliwa, finally the president will decide, no, mimi nimesema ni fulani ambaye atakuwa prime minister. So that's how it works. What is the inclusivity in that?
And he can fire him.
Personally, and he can fire him the same way. The same way he has, even though we say, okay, he can be fired either by the president or by majority in the National Assembly. And Gachuri speaks about having the leader of official opposition in the House. Maybe that's a way of maybe having that inclusivity, having a shadow cabinet, holding the government to account. But if he doesn't have the majority in the House, if he doesn't have the numbers in the House, there's nothing much is going to not pass in terms of government bills and all that. We even see it in the US right now, even with the passing of the Supreme Court, of an appointment of the Supreme Court judge. It is because of the party that has the higher number of senators and members in the House, not because there's no vibrant opposition. It's there, but the numbers that you have is important. So this inclusivity issue for me, as is in the BBI, doesn't really make much sense.
Yvonne, I want to just ride on Jamila's point and add that inclusivity is really a manners thing. It's not just about the law. It's also about your manners as a leader, as a government, as a person in a position of political power. In the Moi days, there used to be this frequent reference to the face of Kenya.
Yep.
And you would go through his, and the Kenya Yearbook does a very good job of documenting the Kenyatta cabinets, the Moi cabinets, and even the Mwai Kibaki cabinets. And you would see the effort in the first three presidents of this country to always reflect in cabinet and in government that thing called the face of Kenya. Face of Kenya doesn't require you don't need a law. You don't need to change the constitution to compel you as a leader to have in mind something called the face of Kenya. It should be awkward, and a good leader should feel wrong when you see that you are president and then the other top 5 positions of the government, whether it's in the legislature, judiciary, police, military, all this from you can actually hold a meeting in Kimasai, if it were in my case. You should feel wrong in a country of 43 tribes when that is the shape of your government. Do we need to change the constitution for that? We don't.
But maybe they're saying, their argument is that because you don't want to leave it to chance, to goodwill and to good manners, and so legislate it, put it in there.
Yes, and that's why there was something that worked about the old arrangement where ministers are picked from Parliament. Because you had a maximum choice of 222. That is the maximum. You don't have the entire country to choose your cabinet from. And the likelihood is one constituency and another are two different communities. So you will be forced by just the narrowness, the size of Parliament, to actually act a certain way. So because you want to have a foothold in Ukambani, you'll have a Kamba minister, you'll have a minister from Kisii, you'll have a minister from other places. This arrangement, there's something very dangerous about the current arrangement, and we saw it in 2013 when President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy Prime Minister, and Deputy President William Ruto named their cabinet. The names, first of all, reflected the voting patterns of the country. That should not be the case. You win elections to run a country, not to run a party. So you are the government of places that voted for you and those that voted against you. And the face of Kenya is an all-time affair. It doesn't matter which part of the country voted for which government. And the lack of that manners is what is bringing us problems right now. And we're having this euphoria about fixing it through changing